Hey there, everybody. Thank you so much for joining Archangel Alts, and we're going to continue forward in our next lesson in the lesson plan. And I told you that I was going to do this video, so I am just, focusing on cranking these out and being a man of my word. So, my word. Really happy to see this happening with TNT. We're getting so close in lots of these positions. A lot of the pumps that are happening in the marketplace, it's actually kind of moving forward into the next range. It was the 2s and 300s in value, and now as the volume and volatility have been climbing back up from the sharp drops in Bitcoin, it's at $120 million, $127 million, 24-hour volume now at 37.18, and that is just the right balance for it to move into the 300 and 400 range value coins. Also, some of the really small ones, the ones that are below 200, are getting a little bit of a pop. So it's kind of nice to see that. I don't think that this is just market-wide pumping. I think that this is the way that the balance of volume and liquidity balance each other out. So make sure you're watching those videos. So this one is a super important one, especially on the front end of your journey into this trading thing. But as you go along, it's important to reflect back on it, I believe. So I'm calling this going from the self-conscious to the subconscious. And I don't mean it in some kind of, wishy-washy, the subconscious way, but it's something that's been very important for myself, and I would imagine it's important for some other people too. So it starts by what your kind of personality is. Are you a risk taker? Are you a more balanced type of personality? Are you extremely standoffish and cautious, overly cautious? Somewhere along that spectrum. We're assuming that you're trading and that you are coming from some kind of angle of financial stability of some sort, your concept or your actual reality. If you make $100,000 a year and you want to invest $10,000, you should feel the impact of that 10 grand. That's 10% of what you earn. Okay. If that's not a lot of money to you, then let's say that you make $1 million a year and you want to put in $100,000. Let's say you make only 30 grand a year and you want to put in $3,000. Notice how I'm kind of going towards about 10% of your earnings. That may not even be enough to really kickstart your massive scaled up growth, but it's definitely, it's a responsible ideology there. So assuming that you try to be a well-balanced buyer and seller and spender. And so this is a big deal to you. You finally set up your Coinbase or Gemini account, you buy your first $1,000, $10,000, $100,000, whatever is a large amount that you feel the pain on when you're excited and you're buying into your crypto, okay? So let's just pretend whatever that value is to you, I'm going to just say that it's $10,000. That will always probably sound like a lot of money to me, even when I'm doing transactions, buying and selling that are in that size. So you've loaded your 10,000 of your first Bitcoin onto the Binance exchange or your exchange of choice, and you're really excited. And now you're thinking, oh gosh, I really want to earn money off of this crypto stuff, and I want to do a good job, and I want to do it well. When you put your first, let's say, in crypto world, $40 trade in, you should be thinking in terms of, wow, that's a noticeable purchase for me. If I filled up with gas, I would notice $40. If I went to the grocery store and I spent $100, I notice it. When I go and eat somewhere and I spent $40, I notice it. So it's not like it's an unsubstantial number to you. It's not going to knock you out of your $10,000, but I mean, you may feel it. So you don't want to go right in on a decision and lose $40. It would be not the best message to send to your system. So let's say that, what is a big amount to you? Let's say something like that. In Bitcoin world right here, we're pretending that one Bitcoin is the $10,000 unit. Just lock it in there and then stop thinking fiat. You've got your money in here. You got it at whatever value you got it now. You live in Bitcoin until you make your millions. That's the idea. Boom. Done. So 1.0 is one Bitcoin. That's the $10,000 unit. 0.1 would be thousands, 100s, tens, dollars, pennies, fractions. So 0.014 is like $140 in Bitcoin world. That's $140 is a lot of money. unless you're in the next bracket, in which case we would say that's a lot of money, 1,400 in Bitcoin land. Okay, so you're looking at this purchase, and it's a really big deal to you. In fact, let me change that just in case I accidentally hit something. It wouldn't be bad. So there's a psychological element to this, and there's the reality, the economic side of it. It's real money. I mean, you spent it to get it here, and unless all this stuff disappeared with the internet, these might be ones and zeros, but they're real transactions, and you really are putting your money into that position. So the fear or the concern or the legitimate response, there should be some emotion to trading. You just don't want to be led around by it. People that will tell you that you're not successful unless you trade without emotion, no. We are human beings, so we're supposed to emote. The thing is, you don't want to be led around by it, and you don't want to be blocked by it. So I think that that's part of what some people are saying when they throw that around, but it's becoming a catchphrase, and a lot of people don't understand the catchphrase that they're spreading. So just want to put that out there, that part of the element of what I'm talking about here, the subconscious side of things, is a distraction from making good trade decisions. You don't need to feel like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? I just put $10,000 in on this thing. I have no idea where to go, how to choose a position. Or I'm getting really good at doing this, but I'm scared every single time I go in. Or maybe I don't care enough. I don't need to forget about the fact that was really $2,000. That was really $3,000. All of these things are relevant. So, it is money, so it does matter. And we can't take it with us, but we do need it to survive. So, I'm absolutely an anti-greed, pro-wisdom person. I believe in good wealth, good balance to wealth as we grow it. But I don't believe in, I'm going to do whatever I can to destroy the other guy so that I get, I want to be first on everything and greed. Nope. So when you're feeling self-conscious about everything, you will tend to be overly worried, overly concerned, overly stressed about every position. And it's understandable, depending on what your economic position is and also what your economic philosophy is. For instance, right here, oh my gosh, but, Phoenix was up here and now it's down here. Well, it did 50, as much as 50% during the day tomorrow. So it's bound to come down some. But guess what? It's still better off than it was when it began. Psychological element to this stuff. We were in the 230s and we're still holding at 318. Now, the thing is that people are going to get more fear-based the faster they see this sell down. And it's just a part of the process. So, not irrelevant to what we're talking about. Let's say that you got in right here and you put $1,000 of your $10,000 into Phoenix. You see everybody yesterday bragging about, we made 10x on Phoenix. It's like, okay, what did you do for the month before that? Nope, just one day, one big old day. Made lots of money on one day. That's not the idea. And I'm definitely not talking about people in our group. They're doing an excellent job. Really proud of you guys. Just when I see other people, they're saying, learn to day trade in 3 easy steps. And then they only report, the good parts. They don't report the stop loss. And the reason they had to use it, they don't discuss, these 3 trades we're still holding in, but, check out the 30% we made on this part. Yeah, whatever, man. Whatever. So the subconscious side of things is being hyper-focused on the fear, the concerns, the what if I'm right, what if I'm wrong, what if it doesn't do this, what if it does do that. I really want to just get through this and get on to the next thing. But, did I guess right? Oh, did I guess wrong? I'm scared. I'm not going to go in. I went in too much. Those things are all in there. They're in your brain. I know. I know what it feels like. I've been terrified of making the next move. I remember when $40 to $80 was the toughest transition because, I tended to forget the dozens and dozens and dozens of times that we've earned profit when I have that one uncertainty and get stuck there. I start thinking, oh man, this always happens. Just when I think I'm going in, it goes down. You know what? It's not a complete mystery that when you put in a position that the larger it is, the more it goes down. And then it goes back up because other people see value in it too. So not to worry. Don't get bent out of place with fear and dread. So what is going out of that into the subconscious? Okay, subconscious is when you have built up an instinct, the things that you consciously know, the math behind it, the movement, the up, the down, understanding the charts, understanding the indicators, understanding your own wallet in the marketplace and how much you have to spend. All of those things is kind of like if you're good at driving and, you have been driving for a while. When you first did it, you had to think, how much pressure do I put on the brake? How fast do I need to move to the gas? I have to remember that I put my foot on the brake when I change the gear. I can't just do one or the other. How much give is there in the steering wheel? Ooh, I turned too far to the left. Ooh, I turned too far to the right. Did I wait long enough at the stop sign? Why is that guy beeping at me? All these different things. But then as you drive, a few hundred miles, a few hundred days, whatever your, range is, you don't have to think about that stuff a lot. Your brain can start kind of focusing on other things while you're out there just, although it's a terrifying concept, it's just kind of drifting around in your car doing what you do. Hopefully not overly distracted with things. But things become instinctive. Your subconscious, it's in there. And you're still, balancing all those different variables out, but you don't have to hyper-focus on them. So you're not as self-conscious about yourself and how you're driving, hopefully. You can be a defensive driver and, even an offensive driver in both the right ways at the right times, and kind of manage it without thinking, oh my gosh, what if I don't turn the wheel right? Oh my gosh, what if I, can't get up this hill, from a stop when I'm driving a stick? All these different things, that they might be, normal fears and concerns, but you don't want to hyper-focus on, let's say, most of the time that we drive, we don't have a flat tire. That's a terrifying thing sometimes when you're, on the expressway and pop and you feel the bounce out of the car go out. Most of the time that doesn't happen. Most of the time when it rains, we're fairly safe, if we don't just go plowing through the biggest puddles we can find. I know some people that probably would enjoy doing that. Just don't do it around other cars in too close proximity and you'll be okay sometimes. But, most of the time, if you have trouble with visibility, you have windshield wipers. Most of the time, the oil and the gas in the car are working to your advantage. But there's a million parts cranking around, turning around, little explosions happening, firing off. And, anything could be on the road at any time. And it could pop a tire or it could cause a wreck. What if everybody else on the road is just a horrible driver? You're doing your thing, but, they're screwballs and you don't know when things are going to go crazy. Okay, that's the self-conscious side of things still. What about all the things that could go wrong? Oh my gosh, it's horrifying. You could be terrified. Why even leave the bed in the morning? You know what I'm saying? But that's the same with the marketplace. This is money. You have your 10 grand. Nobody's just going to hand over another 10 grand if you screw this up. And oh my gosh, what happens if I'm wrong? What if I didn't learn the right thing with those indicators? What if the market shifts right when I need to do the thing? Well, you know what? I've had every single one of those things happen. The most terrifying things that could happen, I've seen them happen. And we're doing okay. We're doing more than okay. We're clearing things that we expect to take longer for them to get into position to clear. We're able to reinvest that and utilize it, and we're proving for 16 months straight now that our system works, okay? So it's just that some things you will learn to do instinctively, and so you don't need to think about, oh my gosh, that was $1,000. Oh my gosh, that was $2,000. Oh my gosh, what if it gets stuck? Sometimes those things do happen, but you're choosing things, if you're following our system, based on what is logical and practical for each of these coins. So even if you get stuck in something, most of the time, even those will eventually clear. And that, in a market where it goes down 60% and then it levels off there for a half a second before it goes down 50%, and then it comes up a tiny bit and then it goes down 60% again. That downward trajectory does not leave a lot of times that most people's huddles that were unintentional. You're holding on for dear life because you don't want to take a loss, not because you love holding on to the coin. And, most people's decisions are going to leave them stuck with something that they are eventually going to take a loss on. For some reason, the way that we're doing this, we're doing it correctly. When we get stuck, we don't stay stuck most of the time. So that should reduce your fear. That should reduce the self-conscious aspect of things. And as you get better and you train and you take the time to learn the things that I'm telling you, if you do have a talent for this, and it does take some talent, you do have some kind of sense for things, as you go along, you will get better. The math will get a little bit easier. The decimals will get a little bit easier. You'll start to trust the fact, you'll test and retest so that you can trust that the fees are doing what they're doing and you're earning a profit on top of them, and you keep moving forward. Woohoo! Super fantastic. You got to ring a cowbell. We are a little bit Pavlovian, unfortunately. It's not just that when you ring the bell, the dog salivates. When you successfully sell a trade for a profit, you need to celebrate that moment. You need to enjoy relief. Okay? That's part of things becoming a natural process. And just as part of the balance in the subconscious aspect of it, and letting things be a little bit in auto ride, automatic pilot a little bit. Don't get careless because you get comfortable. That's another important thing. I went in, I sold for profit. Going back in, going to sell for profit. Went back in, oh my gosh, I was wrong. I wasn't paying attention. I was getting too used to things, getting too comfortable. You're driving a car. You're still driving a car. You're a massive piece of metal, flying down the road. So you need to be terrified because something bad could happen, but it usually doesn't. So most of the time you're going to be okay, but pay attention, be aware. Same thing in the marketplace. Just because you're good at what you're doing and you have some instinct for it doesn't mean that you don't need to kind of take a moment and reset, recalibrate yourself, make sure you know what you're doing. When people talk, about, man, I just had a bad day. I had a bad day on a market. Well, yes, those things are going to happen, but we seem to tend to thrive in the midst of a lot of bad days. The worst days for us are when things are so slow there's almost nothing safe to do. For weeks at a time, we have found that eventually we do get in out of positions and continue to clear at a profit, even when it's not logical. Everything is just dying or flying down. And you see in the groups, everybody is saying, in the forums, I'm bleeding, chaos, we're calling everything off. Don't listen to me, TNT. Just because I'm talking about bad things happening doesn't mean you got to go down. Everything is cool. Everything is chill. It's good. We're all happy here. So that's the idea. It's very important that you develop the skills so that you feel some sense of security in what you're doing. You'll create a track record, which you need to remind yourself of from time to time. You need to get over the fear-based stuff, but you don't want to be careless. You don't want to be a risk taker in the sense that you don't care what the outcome is. You need to care. This is money. This is your money that you've actually worked for, or your trust fund baby money is eventually going to run out. Something terrible, tragic could happen in the marketplace. Yeah, we could all lose everything if something terrible happened. But I don't want to think in those terms. That could happen at a job. That could happen with your bank. That could happen with your credit cards. You could have a car wreck. All these terrible things could happen. But the majority of the time, logical things work when we're in the mode where we do the best. So the takeaway that I want you to have from this is that getting into the subconscious means getting in the zone, getting in the right mind place to where your instincts kick in. And if you're really good at this, it works more and more to your advantage. If you're not very good at it, then you have your set of tools, your analysis, your indicators, your charts. You're following good information so that it will lead you in the right direction, okay? So that way you're not just constantly focused on the what ifs, what if this happens, what if that happens. A little bit of fear is okay because it's natural, it's an important thing, but don't let it distract you from being good. So once, for myself, I like to study and have a little bit of coffee and calibrate myself to the market and then just plow through it. And I start testing positions and watching what's going on. I try to, just take short breathers. I don't even want to go half an hour in trading without just kind of stepping away for a moment and stepping back into it. Sometimes when I've analyzed everything and I have the most writing on something, most people would just sit there and grit their teeth. Sometimes that's exactly when I want to step away. I know that anything that I do to mess with what my instinct already told me to do, I'm going to end up psyching myself out. So get in the zone, stay in the zone. We call it getting in the room. Don't mess with Archangel Alts. He's in the room. So, sometimes that means hyper concentration on something. You're not really paying attention to your moving. You're not really thinking about the rest of the world. Phone calls and other information just have to subside and be pushed away because you're in the room. And some of the best trading takes place there. It doesn't mean that you're not doing some active thinking in the process. But once you're in the zone, you're looking for the right gaps and things. You're looking at the right information. You're listening to your scanner without being distracted. Everything is just moving in the right direction, and you're studying things. You go in for the kill. You make the trade. You celebrate. You allow yourself to feel the emotion of relief, and then you go back in. And you do it. You do it over and over again. The more that you do it, the closer to your lifetime financial goals the potential there is to reach. So it looks like right now there is a little bit of lull in the market, so it's a little bit later. The one rule of thumb for the marketplace is that it always does change. So if you think this is the right range of time, this is where things always happen, this is the day that things always happen, learn the rules and then throw them out the window. You got to know it in order to break it. Because every single day has a surprise from the crypto trading world. Even on the slowest of days, things will happen when they're not the most logical. Usually after 2 or 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, as it goes into the late afternoon, things slow down. If I were to block out all of my trading time, probably a lot of the times that would make the most sense for me to go live trading with the videos are going to be like the worst, slowest times to trade. And just as I say that window has been where the biggest breakouts have happened. And just all of a sudden out of nowhere, there's this huge sell-off on Bitcoin. All of a sudden now out of nowhere, there's a huge buy-in on Phoenix. These different things. So, just like Sunday is usually one of the slower trading days. Well, it was one of the biggest trading days we've had in months. And so, it's been an interesting balance along the way. So stay aware, always be learning, always be trading. But don't be self-conscious to where you psych yourself out. You worry yourself into the wrong positions and out of the wrong positions. Into the wrong positions and out at the wrong times. Allow yourself to learn enough to where you develop an instinct. Don't over-trust yourself when you're just getting started, because I promise there's something you haven't learned yet if you haven't done every kind of trade that there is. I will never consider myself out of learning mode, out of training mode. Always recalibrate yourself, go in, but trust your instincts once you are doing the right things. And don't psych yourself out. Don't constantly be focusing on just how much money it is involved, but don't get careless either. Stay in that zone. Get in the room. Be logical. Be, down the center. Lean towards caution, and you'll always find better positions that are safer quicker. And that is getting out of the self-conscious into the subconscious. I hope that you found this valuable and useful and really encouraging. This is one of those videos that you should kind of star for yourself or add to a list, because there's going to be times where you're stuck and you need a friend and you need somebody that understands the hypertension, the hyper pressure that goes along with trading. So this is meant to be your friend. Archangel Alts is your friend in the trading business. All right, so God bless you. Thank you for watching. And for now, Archangel Alts out.